Welcome to The Standard. From Vancouver, I'm Peter Klein. Coming up on tonight's show, the man responsible for bringing the Dalai Lama and 5 other Nobel laureates to Vancouver. And later, one of the original members of South Africa's ANC. But first, former British Columbia Premier, the Honourable Bill Vander Zalm. Bill Vander Zalm was the 28th Premier of BC. From 1986 through 1991, he led the province and the Social Credit Party through an economically vibrant but socially turbulent time. After resigning due to conflict of interest in the sale of Fantasy Gardens, he was charged with criminal breach of trust but was found not guilty in 1992. After being relatively quiet since leaving office, he's now come out publicly against the harmonized sales tax, better known as the HST, a new tax to be introduced in BC in July 2010. The HST is to combine the federal GST and the provincial PST into one flat tax. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, in a nutshell, what is the problem with the HST?
Well, the problem, aside from timing and aside from what the expectations were after an election only a few months ago, the big problem, basically, in short, is that we're taking from those that can least afford it, especially now, and giving to those that perhaps least need it. We're taking money from the seniors, from the handicapped, from those on limited income, from the person with the lunch bucket, and we're giving it to the business, large corporations particularly, who will stand to benefit considerably. So it's not a good situation and bad timing.
So basically what it does is combines the 7 and the 5% into 12. So how does that trickle down in a way that it hurts the average consumer?
Well, we're combining the 7 with the 5 to make it 12, which is what it is now, except that we're expanding it considerably. Well, not just considerably, we're expanding it enormously to include a whole host of items that weren't previously taxed by the PST. So now it'll be rents, it'll be strata fees, it'll be your heating bill, your electric bill, it'll be the barber, it'll be your funeral, it'll be restaurants, it'll be anything tourist related, your theater tickets, your hockey tickets, all of those things. I mean, the list gets very long. And it's going to cost the average person, the average senior, we figured, about $1,250, senior couple, $1,250 per year. And the average family, probably in the order of $2,000 to $2,500 per year.
Well, the BC Chamber of Commerce, I know, has been very supportive of this idea, and some economic think tanks have come out saying that ultimately, in the long term, the consumer will actually save money because businesses will save money. Essentially, the businesses save money, and that will trickle down to the average person. You don't buy that argument?
I used to be the president of the BC Chamber of Commerce way back. I think we did our homework a lot better back then than what they're doing it now. No, I don't buy the argument at all. I don't think prices will go down. I don't think it'll create employment. As a matter of fact, in the restaurant sector, in the tourism sector, it'll reduce employment. I think it's going to cost jobs. Big business, if you're a large conglomerate, you have shareholders, you're an oil company or a natural gas company or a coal company or Kitimat's aluminum smelter or copper mines, the likes. Sure, it'll mean more for the shareholders, but it's not going to reduce the price. They're not going to move out. We're not competing with Ontario in any of this. So I think we're being sold a bill of goods. And the reason we're being sold a bill of goods is because the government wants that $1.6 million little bribe that's out there. Billion.
Yes.
I said billion.
Right, so explain that.
$1.6 billion bribe.
Where is that money coming from?
It's coming from the federal government. And I think probably we're getting $1.6 billion, but the federal government is going to get plenty more too, because now all of a sudden, it used to be that if you didn't sell over $30,000 worth of goods, you didn't need to be licensed under GST, whereas now everybody will pay GST and pay PST on everything. So all of those people that used to forego collecting will now have to collect.
So there's a lot of anger, I think some of it expressed by you, a lot of it expressed by just average folks in BC, towards Gordon Campbell, because there was promises made that this would not be imposed, and it has been imposed, as you said, timing. But it doesn't seem like the anger is directed so much towards Harper and towards Ottawa. It's directed towards the province. But it's also, ultimately, as you've just argued, this is coming from Ottawa, right?
Yeah, Ottawa bears some of the blame. But, of course, BC does not have to accept it. Mm-hmm. If they wish to forego this, they can do it. So, ultimately, it's the provincial government that decides whether we have the HST or not. And the people are angry, very angry. It's so across the province, and it's from all sectors. I realize business is coming out in support of it, although not so much business. It's the various associations. Mm-hmm. And I think if you were the head of the Road Builders Association and you've just done a few major highway projects, or you're building a bridge for the government, and you get a call from the Premier's office, hey, Jim, it's time you came on side. We need your help.
Right.
Remember what we did. You might be inclined as the head of an association to get out there and give it your support.
Well, you mentioned timing before. One of the issues is timing, not only timing so close to the election when they promised they weren't going to do this, but also we're in an economic recession right now. One of the concerns I know is homes, buying homes. Prices are going down. It's hard for people to buy homes because of the recession, and yet if this tax is imposed, it'll be more expensive to buy a home above $400,000, which is, a lot of homes in BC, certainly in Lower Mainland, are in that range, correct?
Yep, that's right. So people might be inclined to go out and purchase a home now because they don't want to pay all that additional tax next year at this time. However, if you're a company and you're buying a car or a piece of equipment or a new truck or whatever, you might want to wait until next July, because you can then claim back the PST and GST.
Just accepting for a moment, which I know you don't want to, but accepting for a moment that the HST is going to happen, is there something that could be done or could have been done to mitigate the effect? Maybe give better rebates on home ownership, or bring it in slower, or give even tax rebates the way Ontario is planning to do to citizens?
Which I think is a bad thing.
Really?
Government sending out checks to people.
George Bush did it.
It's not good. You take the money, you send it back. There's a cost in taking it. There's a cost in giving it back. You're wasting money that could better be used on programs to help people. So I think giving people refunds or checks is a bad thing. What they could have done, is they could have reduced it, as they did in the Maritimes when they introduced it there. They could have taken the 5 and the 7, which adds up to 12, and said, we'll make it 10. And we'll forego, or we'll eliminate, the property purchase tax on new homes. So now you'll have not only the property purchase tax, but you'll have another tax on top of the property purchase tax. It's ridiculous.
Why didn't they do that?
Why didn't they do that? They may still do that. They haven't presented us the legislation. So they may be holding out, and they might come back and say, look what good guys we are. The Premier has already said, we're going to have the HST. There's no time to consult people. We're going ahead, which bothers me, because in a democracy, you would think when 85 or 90% of the people are against something, you don't simply come out and say, we, the government, or I, the Premier, don't have time to consult you. We're going ahead anyway. That's not very democratic. But I think also he did say that in a couple of years he might reduce it. Well, that's just before an election. I think he'll want to go ahead and do it before then, with the pressure that's coming out there now.
Well, there's a lot more to talk about in a moment. More with Bill Vander Zalm after this break.